success because the 2 million people that were reported to have died because of coronavirus, it's been less than that. It's been 200K. But we're just entering into this third wave, and it's predicted that we're going to have at least 200,000 more deaths. So I think that the facts that Joe Biden came armed with, that he bared them out before the American people in such a way that people cannot ignore the fluff that is Donald John Trump Jr.
All right, Reese, your assessment. Let's start first. Let's talk about, again, at the outset, the conversation about coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Donald Trump is detached from reality when it comes to coronavirus. And, the most damning thing to me has always been that Donald Trump actually believes that he's doing a good job when it comes to coronavirus. I think most Americans would disagree. As a matter of fact, the polling says that over 60-something% disagree with his handling of coronavirus. And in fact, 60-something% of Americans actually believe that Joe Biden will do a better job. And so Trump, once again, repeating, it'll go away, it'll go away. Literally, nobody believes that. He also failed to acknowledge the fact that 400,000 people will die by the end of the year. He renewed his attack on Dr. Fauci, who is almost universally approved of. And so he said a lot of things that were just frankly unhinged. One of the most jarring things to me, though, is how he continuously throughout the debate, and particularly on the COVID topic, talked about blue states. And when he was talking about the HEROES Act, which I thought that Joe Biden was exceptionally strong on in defending the Democratic caucus, as well as the fact that there has been a relief bill sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk since May called the HEROES Act, that Donald Trump brought up that it's a quote unquote blue state or blue city bailout. And I will say this, I'm, team blue, and I'm not, super on the jingoistic, patriotic blue state versus red state, we're all United States thing. But it's very, very disturbing to hear the rationale for aid being held up for the entire country, being that it is a quote unquote blue city bailout. And last thing I just want to say is I thought that Joe Biden was exceptionally strong in pointing out that, hey, at any point, states, regardless of their political affiliation or where their electoral college votes go, need a bailout. Red states need bailouts. Hello, down there in Texas and in Florida with their hurricanes and other things. You have Oklahoma, which has tornadoes. And so that's not how we look at dispersing aid in this country. It should not be politicized. And Donald Trump made it completely political. And that's the last thing that people want to hear in this pandemic that's not going away.
Greg Carr, that particular point Reese makes, I thought was also critical because, again, the strategy of Joe Biden coming in tonight, it was very clear. You saw it with the ads that he dropped during the World Series. He's saying, I might be running as a Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. He wanted to show the difference between one person who only gives a damn about red states, who does not care about blue states. That was a consistent theme tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like Joe Biden had a strong coaching. His team came together. I think Senator Harris must have given him some tips on body language and facial expressions. His side-eye game was strong. His Zen face when Trump got particularly unwieldy there in the last third when he just went like this. I'm saying, you know what, this is great. And I think to your direct point, and in the wake of what both Erica and Reese have said, his ability to channel Barack Obama, to take that Boston 2004 speech and to repeat it right at the right moment, United States. I think Biden did turn this into us versus him, as opposed to Trump, who was saying me versus him. And so it's like, we all look at this crazy guy. We all look at this. And I thought perhaps the strongest line of the night, and we could talk about it. I mean, he had some strong lines, but I thought the idea that, hey, I'm going to add a public option to Obamacare and call it Biden Care. He distanced himself from Obama just enough, being respectful, to say, you're running against me. Look, this guy wants to run against everybody. AOC, and I think his fascination with black and brown women, there's something there with the psychologist, but he had to dig that out after he's out of office. But he got a love-hate relationship because he's always, that thing he said about AOC, well, she's got some strong, what are you doing? And the racism was just there when he put Biden and Obama together. I'm not going to say, I'm going to be polite. You want to say the N-word? Is that really what you want to say? But Biden was able to create a little distance between himself and Obama, say you're running against me, and embrace all that white manness that allowed him to win the primary in the first place. But he got some help tonight, I think, probably from Obama and Harris, particularly in his coaching.
I think when you start breaking down what took place tonight, obviously Donald Trump, he kept trying to come back to Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, and what's interesting was this here, because when he first did it, I said, is he really doing this here? It was Joe Biden who brought it up. I thought that was very smart of him to do so. But then what he then did was he then began to nail him on Putin and nail him on Russia. And what is it that you're not wanting to do? And it kept going back to that. And then at some point, then Trump decides later, even when they were talking about race in America, about the talk, he wants to bring up Hunter Biden again. And Kristen Welker was like, no, we're going to stay with this topic right here. And he kept trying to go back to it. It was like that was the only trick he had in his bag tonight. Donald Trump had nothing else. To me, this was the equivalent of Sonny Liston in his corner getting his ass whooped by Cassius Clay, and then telling his folks, go ahead and put the stuff on my glove. And then Liston has one, maybe two good rounds, and then once they clean the stuff out, Cassius just goes in and takes him out, and he doesn't come out for the ring. That's all Trump had tonight, and Biden was able to definitely knock it off, but really bring the thing back. And I really thought it jumped out, Erica, when Biden starts talking about families. What is this guy talking about? Families around the kitchen table. And I was going, does that fool hear himself?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It took me back to the Dave Chappelle episode when he was mocking, Charlie Murphy rather was mocking when they were over to Rick James' house and he was on the couch with those books and he was like, fuck your couch. I mean, that is exactly the energy that the son of a Klansman gave us tonight. And I so love that he said that because American people needed to hear that. He said, fuck your dinner table issues. He literally said that. And you know why he said that? Because he's never worked a day in his life. The $1 billion that he has in debt, he earned it because he doesn't pay bills. He's illiterate. He did not even take his own test to be able to get into college and even matriculate through those halls. So we're talking about a person that has no work ethic. He doesn't have an ethic because everything's been given to him from out of a bottle. And he went up against a grown man tonight that simply pivoted and spoke directly to American voters. There was a solid performance tonight. There was nothing. Joe Biden can really poke his chest out. I'm assuming that the fundraising is going to be crazy tonight. And those folks that prepare him for his debate, I remember his national press secretary, I believe it is Hogan. I don't recall his last name, the way he was boasting earlier today around the debate prep that they were doing around Donald Trump. There was no fruit to bear, but this is what we've come to know about the lion with no teeth.
Reese, what was very interesting was when they got into, first of all, it was a number of different issues. And then all of a sudden you saw Biden just zero in and begin to hit him. Trump thought he hit Biden on the 1994 crime bill. All of a sudden he comes back, no, we did this and we did this. And for the first time, I can't recall ever, Reese, Biden saying that it was a mistake what they did with the crime bill.
That was the first time that I can recall him admitting that any part was a mistake. And I think that was smart on his part because there's really no need to double down any more than what he's already done. I think now is trying to get that last little few people off of the sidelines. The people that don't have a problem with it, they don't have a problem with it. But there are a couple of people, CNN, of course, they always want to find one or two black voters, the quote unquote undecideds, and that was something that they brought up. So perhaps that would be persuasive. I actually don't think that he was particularly strong on the crime bill section, though. I think that
he wasn't strong.
No,
he wasn't strong. But first of all, for him to admit it was a mistake.
Yeah.
What I did when Trump kept saying y'all did nothing, there actually was a response that could have been better by saying, wait a minute, one of the first bills Obama signed lowered the crack cocaine and powder cocaine disparity. Right. And then he finally said Republican Congress. What he should have said is your party wouldn't cooperate. Right. Your Jeff Sessions who you picked as your attorney general, would not cooperate. And then Tom Cotton wouldn't cooperate. We wanted to do it, but your party didn't. And then when Trump kept saying the First Step Act, I was sitting there saying, Joe, excuse me, Democrats passed that in the House.
Yeah.
Democrats improved that in the Senate. Don't you dare take credit for all of that when Democrats made it possible. I was sitting there like, hit him, Joe, hit him with that.
I think that to me, he conceded the criminal justice portion way too much to Trump. It blows my mind that they don't point out that the very first act of Donald Trump's Department of Justice. We know that the first act of John Kelly was the Muslim ban, but the first act of the Department of Justice was to actually roll back the reforms that Obama and Biden put in place under the Eric Holder and the Loretta Lynch Department of Justices to seek the harshest crimes, charge people as harshly as possible, even for marijuana possession, and seek the longest sentences. Okay, they still have not mentioned that private prisons are booming under President Trump, which is something that Obama and Biden again rolled back under their tenure, and they haven't mentioned all of the ways that the William Barr administration is targeting these blue cities that they want to talk about with this Operation Legend, I believe is what it's called. And so I just think that perhaps with Biden, they made the calculation that the criminal justice portion is something that they just want to get off the topic. Not a bad Yeah, but they don't have to. They don't have to. But one thing I can say is I don't think that Biden has ever been particularly strong on that because he's not a guy who's really a good justice speaker. Like Senator Kamala Harris knows how to have the justice conversation, which Biden doesn't. So I think he's conceding too much. But I still don't think that he's equipped to really handle it in any better of a way.
But the deal there, Greg, though, what was sitting there was, again, because you hear Donald Trump, he did it 3 times trying to invoke black men. You can look at the numbers, see how well we're doing. And I'm like, Joe, why don't you tell those black men why you won't support police consent decrees? Why don't you tell those black men why you accept private prisons? Why don't you tell those black men why you've attacked progressive DAs when it comes to fighting mass incarceration? You put a bullseye on their back. See, to me, you got to force him to defend Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr.
I agree with you, of course, but I don't think Trump would have any problem defending Barr or Sessions. He has no problem defending anything. I mean, he defended Kim Jong-un. So, I mean, he doesn't have any problem defending, but, it's very interesting. Of course, we know the Democratic Party is not monolithic. It could fracture at any moment. When this election is won, you're going to see it pulled in several different directions. Joe Biden is an old white man. And tonight, given the fact that he can't really defend his record on criminal justice, Reese is right. I mean, I don't know how far he could go, but given who he has been over the last almost 50 years and given who he is now, I don't know that I've ever heard him sound more progressive. Like Will said, in other words, it's clear that Biden, maybe the strategy has now, right before we go to the ballot box, I'm going to go straight progressive because he damn near sounded like the Green New Deal on energy. And even when it even sounded like he was going to take on the oil lobby. When Trump thought he had him cornered with about 10 minutes left, you hear that Ohio, you hear that Pennsylvania? He said, yeah, we're going to create millions of new jobs in the green. I mean, he didn't say green. And interestingly enough, neither did Trump. So it was like Joe Biden, when he came out for the fight for 15, I said, is this Bernie Sanders up here talking strong on the fight for 15?
Right. And that's what I mean. He had some bass in his voice on $15.
And you're exactly right, Roland. And shout out to Kristen Welker, who showed you how to moderate, who hit all the high points, hit the main themes, and then came back and she left the environment for last. And it was very interesting to see. I thought that perhaps even in terms of foreign policy, Biden was strong, but he sounded like the kind of progressive that some of the progressives who, as Reese said, maybe a little bit on the fence, could say, okay, we can work with this guy. It was very interesting to hear him tonight.
Here's what I really, when you talk about looking at those two and really how he bore in, certainly when Biden was talking about $15 an hour. But here's why the end was important. Kristen Welker asked Donald Trump a question about black people living near oil fields. Blah, blah, blah. And then Biden says it's called fencing. And then this is what it's called. And this is what I've experienced.
And he
And
doesn't know
it's,
anything about that.
and it's cancer. And he said
he said
he doesn't know
it.
anything about that. I was
Exactly.
like, get his ass. I was like, Erica, get his ass. And it basically was like, let me explain to you what this is. And then what Biden did was he talked about it, how it affects black people, but then said, we also experienced it in Pennsylvania, basically with white people. He connected the two by saying environmental issues impact, yes, environmental racism, and it impacts white folks as well. That was but it was he gave a lecture to Trump, and it was essentially like, little child, be quiet, grown ass man talking.
Well,
yes.
he painted a word picture. When he said, my mom hit the windshield wiper and the oil slick, he's going for the, excuse my French, white trash vote.
Yes,
and he said, where I come from, people don't live off the stock market. In other words, he's now going to try to reach into those precincts where somebody who's a Trump voter sat up and said, well, damn. And maybe for the first time, racism notwithstanding, they said, that's a rich dude talking to somebody who grew up like me. Remember when Trump tried to take Scranton from him? And he was like, yeah, nah. See, my people don't, people where I'm from, people don't
I was like, oh, yeah, you didn't really grow up in Scranton.
Trump was flavor, man.
Like, sit your boarding school ass down.
Yeah. Cadet Bone Spurs.
But look, Trump was so overmatched. First of all, it looked like perhaps they had given him something and it began to wear off as the thing continued. And Joe, you know how it is, how any of us are, when you're in a meeting or you working and you see the clock and you realize you ain't got about 10 or 15 minutes left and you get that second win. By the time Joe Biden got to that last 20 minutes, he said, Abraham Lincoln here. He was feeling good.
Right. Oh, Abraham Lincoln here. Because Trump basically said, well, essentially, I've done more for blacks, maybe even more than Abe. Was like, motherfucker, he freed the slave.
But can we talk about, though, like, a lot of Trump's language, even in the climate change section, was disturbing. It was very racist. I mean, he called Russia filthy, which, whatever.
China.
He called China filthy. He called India filthy. Those are very loaded terms that were just very jarring to hear. He talked about how, we have the best air, we have clean water. Flint, Michigan still does not have clean water. There are plenty of black communities, Baltimore, South Bend, et cetera, that have lead problems. And so he's very delusional, but his language in multiple sections, I'm sure we'll get to the other ones, but even on the climate change part, was very, very, very disturbing. By why do you have to call these countries filthy when, for instance, China is far ahead of us in terms of, solar and things like that. So it's just, he always has to go back and bring out that, as Erica would say, and I'll let you take over because you always say it better than me. He always has to bring that out. He always has to bring it out.
Girl, because he is the son of a Klansman. And for somebody who was calling a whole country filthy that you have money in, then take your damn 1492 money from out of China. We're also thinking about in March of this year, this is the same person whose EPA rolled back protections in communities that need it the most while we are suffering through a pandemic that is airborne. So, and then he had to use the word, the most cleanest air, just all of these very,
I want crystal clear air. We got the clean. We see they're going like, boy, sit your ass down.
But Biden, as you all said, I mean, the criminal justice, sure, definitely a weak spot. Also,
but wait, hold on. We cannot overlook the fact that he hit his ass on the Central Park 5.
Yes, he did.
I missed that. I missed that.
He did.
Oh, that was
he
wait a minute, and not as a Central Park 5. He said, really? You talked about marauders going around in Central Park.
Yes.
You were sitting here calling for the death penalty of after it was clear that they had not been they actually didn't do it. Then he said, "You were the one descending down the staircase talking about Mexican rapists." No,
That was good.
he hit him on
Yes.
that and made several other points about no. Don't try to play all of a sudden like you Mr. I love black people when you were doing that. Trump again lied about HBCUs, lied his ass off. He was lying the whole time. How he made funding permanent. Lie. We've already refuted that with Dr. Walter Kimbrough, who broke the whole thing down. But I think when I put it all together, was Donald Trump crazy in crazy land like it was last time? No. But what you saw tonight was the difference between one person who has no plan for a second term, and over here, one person who lays out an agenda to move the nation forward. Red.
It's true. No, it's true. And so then I guess then the question we have to ask ourselves is, what, if any, impact will this have? I mean, will it suppress the Trump vote? It's certainly not going to win anybody over who's going to vote for Trump, probably. Trump didn't expand his base tonight. And like you all said, I mean, the apology was good, and well, the kind of apology, we made a mistake.
Acknowledgement.
Yes, Reese, absolutely. And the other thing I thought was interesting in terms of the distancing between himself and Obama was on the immigration issue. He really couldn't answer about the cages. So what does he do? He says, "I was vice president, not president, and yeah, it took long." I'm like, wow.
And let me. But here's the deal, Reese. As somebody who participated in off the record conversations with both Obama and Biden when they were in the White House, there were people got to remember there were a number of instances where Joe Biden disagreed with Obama's strategy. But Joe Biden was like, "I'm the vice president. I'm gonna follow your lead." I'm gonna tell you right now, when they went after, I forgot that group of nuns when it came to the Affordable Care Act and contraception, Biden told them, "This is stupid. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this." And there were a number of different things. And so that's why, so obviously when Trump makes the point, like, where were you? His whole deal is, I'm vice president. Just like your stepfront husband, Vice President Mike Pence, okay, who disagrees with nothing. But and that's why he said, it was, I thought it was clear, Reese. Then he said, then I was the vice president. This time I will be the president.
Yeah. I thought that he was overall incredibly strong on immigration. I think that he let the caging part just hang out there too much, even though, to his credit though, whether he refuted it or not, Trump is going to keep repeating it because that's what he does. He just keeps repeating the same talking points. But I thought he was incredibly strong. Trump doesn't give a shit about separated parents. He just doesn't care. But I think that Biden was very strong to talk about. It wasn't coyotes that brought over these children. Their parents brought over their children. I thought he was incredibly strong when it came to DACA, and when it came to the fact that, you're talking about 5-year-olds, people who've never known another country. We've heard all the horror stories about people who have been deported by this administration who are DACA, are kind of close, maybe not exactly qualifying for DACA. And so I definitely think that he was really, really strong. And, Trump really, really beat himself up really bad to me when he was talking about this whole catch and release. And I thought that Biden did an excellent job of explaining what quote unquote catch and release is. It's about refugees. And Trump said, I hate to say it, I don't know if I want to say it, but then that son of a Klansman comes out and he says, only the people with the lowest IQs would show up for their hearings. Well, 100%, if you look at the data by the Inspector General report, it says 100% of the people that were released showed up for their court hearings. They had 99% check-ins for ICE, but for the hearings, it was 100%. He lied and said only 1% came in. And so the fact of the matter is, what Trump thinks, number one, is following the rules makes you low IQ. We know that because he's a criminal. Right. But he thinks that refugees, and these are people that are escaping unspeakable horrors, okay?
Right.
And he thinks that they're low IQ because he thinks that people who are not white, male, in particular, but white, if you're not male, at least female, are low IQ. He calls what he called Maxine Waters low IQ. He calls
Right.
Black people low IQ. He calls Mexicans rapists and murderers. He characterized refugees as rapists and murderers. So I think his racism really showed very strong, I mean, very appallingly. Of course, that appeals to his base, but as Dr. Carr pointed out, it does not expand his base when he talks that way. And that was just jarring. And I've heard a lot of racist things, and I hate to even admit that my jaw dropped. But in a presidential debate, I think that's easily one of the most jaw-droppingly, blatantly racist things that's ever come out of a presidential nominee's in recent memory. Because I'm not that old, so I haven't seen them all. But in recent memory's mouth, I mean, it comes to mind.
Absolutely.
Erica.
Yeah, I think when you add the 99% that he says recovered from COVID and the 1% that Reese just talked about, then we get that 100%. Just thinking about, again, the numbers matter, right? So that Joe Biden had done his homework, he'd done his research, and he continued to talk about that 545. He said 525 once, but the 545 children, some as young as 11 months old. So that means that they really don't have any memory of their parent that remain separated, that they cannot, which likely means they will not be reunited with their parents. To reiterate that over and over again, this is the type of violence, this is the type of negligence, this is the type of carelessness, this is the type of heartlessness, this is the type of merciless person that is the commander in chief during a time that 8 million people slipped into poverty May 2020 up until this point. And you damn talking about the Senate had the power because the House did its job to sign the damn bill. But decrepit gangrene hand Mitch McConnell has them laying at his feet that he has not signed them. And 8 million families, and you're talking about disproportionately Black and brown people, make up that number. That this is the type of person that people, if they do not vote presidential, they are aligning themselves with him. And just as much as the people that will, in fact, vote for Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
I think, Greg, you asked the question, what will this change?
Mhm.
I think what it does is it solidifies how Biden is going to close this out. He kept saying, I'm going to be the American president. I'm going to be the president for all of the country. While he is doing that, Donald Trump is still going off on this tangent. He's still going off on this rant. He's still over here in Never Never Land. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And Biden's like, no, come back here, here, here. That to me, again, is the best closing argument. The ad that he dropped, with Sam Elliott was so important because what it was speaking to, again, is where we are as a country. That's what it was speaking to. And I thought that was most important. And I think that what's going to happen, and I do want to touch on this piece here that we also heard tonight. You heard all the back and forth with the foreign policy, things on those lines. Would have been great if they had brought up Nigeria. But
yeah.
But after tonight, don't you think Kristen Welker should be the new host of Meet the Press?
Come on, 1 o'clock.
No.
Help us, Roland. Explain this to us, because clearly it's not based on talent. We know white men are the ultimate affirmative action. But what do you think is the reason Chuck Todd still has a job? This can't just be
because Chuck Todd was anointed by Tim Russert. He was handpicked by Tim Russert.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
That's why. And the reality,
reason?
and the reality is, I don't know of any. You can't show me any African American who be given. First of all, not only is Chuck Todd hosted Meet the Press, he's also, they gave him a new show, Peacock. He has something else online. It's all kind of stuff. It's like, really? Here's the thing here. I think out of all these debates, first of all, it's very clear. Kristen was not having none of it.
No.
You were not going to walk up. She also was not going to be apologetic like Susan Page. She was not going to sit here and beg to be respected. And look, this is what happens when you're a black woman. I say also when you're a black man, your ass gonna get to look like, don't your ass cross that line.
Right.
Now here's the deal. All that crap Trump talked before, all that trash in the Kristen Welker, Who said it wasn't debate? I gotta say you're doing a good job tonight. But she's like, I don't need your ass to tell me that.
He tried to put that little rabbit punch on Kamala, and then Kamala, and then he came back. Oh, but you.
But again, let me say this now. I know how media works. If somebody white performed like Kristen Welker did tonight,
oh yeah,
television execs would already be saying we're going to move this person into a major slot. If Kristen Welker does not have a major slot at NBC or another network come January 1, folks should have some problem. She, again, not one time did I complain about the debate moderator tonight.
No. In fact,
not one time.
Well, I remember when she was local news in Philly. I was living in Philly at the time. And so her ascent has probably been slower. I wonder, why it's taken this long. I mean, in fact, Don Lemon was in Philly at the same time at the local affiliate. And so Don Lemon has moved faster than Kristen Welker. But, tonight she definitely showed how to take charge. And maybe about halfway through, when Trump tried to overtalk her, she just turned up the volume and shut him down. And he backed up.
Right. But it did. That's what I'm saying. She was like, don't your ass cross the line. I thought tonight was tonight was how you are to moderate a debate. No, we're moving on.
Right.
No, I have some other questions. No, 10 seconds. And see, it wasn't like, okay, I'll let you respond. It was like, you got 10 seconds. Next, let's go. That's how when you're the moderator, you moderate.
Yeah, I think overall I'm like 99% satisfied with what she did. I thought she let a little bit of the Hunter Biden stuff and some of the conspiracy theory stuff go on a little bit longer than what I would prefer. However, overall, I think she was absolutely heads and shoulders above everybody else in terms of her moderation. I liked how she allowed the back and forth, because that's what a debate is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like, I make a statement and then you make a statement and then, right. So she did allow a little bit of the interaction without it being the over talking and being the very disruptive nature that we saw in the first and only other presidential debate. So I think she was very strong. I thought that she was very strong in terms of the questions that she asked. I like that she asked specific questions to both candidates, as well as allowing the rebuttals to be in a meaningful, substantive way, aside from everything that came out of Trump's mouth. So I think she was incredibly strong. And it's not her fault, the race conversation was not really a race conversation. Right. Well, I really would like, but one last thing, I would. That's true, but
I'm feeling. Go ahead. I'm feeling.
One thing I will say is, as a Black woman, I really, really wish, and I understand that this is a major issue for Black people, but I really wish they would just for once expand the race conversation outside of criminal justice, because everything that came out of Trump's mouth was Black men in jail, and Russia. And it was like, what the hell? We have a wide array of issues that impact Black people that never come up in these debates. So that would be my one complaint. But other than that, I think she was very stellar.
Yes. But here's the deal though, Erica. That's also mainstream media. Look. Yesterday, I opened the lecture series, the presidential lecture series for Virginia Union University. Yeah. And it was called The Past, Present, and Future of Black Media. And this is what I said in that lecture series. And y'all, we're going to be restreaming it on our platforms. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can see it after we're done here. This is what I said. I said, when you work in mainstream media, you are trained to think and process like mainstream media. Mm-hmm. I said, you're trained to see stories through the prism of mainstream media. Uh-huh. The prism of mainstream media is a white prism. Yeah. So you have been trained and conditioned to think that way. So if you want to bring up race in America, mainstream media looks at race in America through a criminal justice, riots, protest, yelling and screaming prism. Mm-hmm. What I said in my lecture, I said, when you work in Black press, you have to think through a Black prism. Mm-hmm. It's hard for a lot of Black journalists who have worked in mainstream to then work in Black press, because they bring that mainstream media thought process with them. Whereas when you were in black press, that's why I think the reason I have been the way I am in my career is because my first paid job was at the Houston Defender.
Hmm.
So my training was in a black news space where I saw a black publisher, a black managing editor, a black production chief, a black senior staff writer. And so I look at news differently. I see black first. And so I think that's part of the deal. Anytime you see this, Erica, where that, to Reese's point, when it's brought up from a mainstream black journalist, that's likely going to be the prism because they've been trained in mainstream media, and that's always been a problem.
Right, and you brought to the point, around this is why diversification is needed within media, particularly in the editorial positions as well, executive leadership positions, because the same kind of white men lens. I grew up in the Brokaw era, but even after I would watch the news, I was always challenged around what I heard in conversations where the conversation was about food stamps. The imagery that always came up were black women, single black women, not black families, but these single black women who were going to these store, going to, stand in line for welfare checks, and they were probably frauding the
There
system.
you go.
However, we know that the data says that it's not mostly black folks that are on welfare. It's mostly white people that are on welfare. But if there is not if you don't have that kind of training that you have had, Roland, or if a person is not challenged around kind of the imagery that they're seeing, the way that they're being imprinted, the information that they're being given, if they don't do that, have that intellectual curiosity to do the research, the imagery wins all of the time.
Right.
And so that is the thing that we're constantly battling. And then even thinking about with Meet the Press, like how Chuck Todd has been able to slide up into that 1 o'clock spot after Andrea Mitchell, which is completely a nap session. And thinking about that could be a Kristen Welker, as you said, or somebody who is able to bring us objective news that will really keep people informed in a way, not exactly the way, but in a way that this platform does. So I think that kind of as people really tear away from
it ain't gonna be like this.
Kinda.
Hold up.
This ingredient help.
This right here, why it ain't gonna be like this.
Sure.
For sure. But there has to be that challenge. There has to be that challenge, and this does not come from kind of that fire hose of mainstream media. It's actually on the other side of the screen as well.
For instance, to Reese's point, Greg, if you're gonna bring up race in America, to me, this is the question. In the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, we have seen a number of corporations announce social justice initiatives, announce investment, announce all of these things. Donald Trump, why does it require black blood to be spilled for white America to realize race is real in America? See, that's Greg. See, that's framing the question through a black prism.
Sure.
As opposed through white executives, because when you unpack that thing, you could say, again, the only reason, that's why I can't wait for Nikki Haley ass to run for president. Because see, I've already was at a joint where she was sitting here trying to talk about how courageous it was and how we had to work bringing the flag down. I'm like, the flag came down because black blood was spilled. You didn't take it. It didn't come down because you had courage. It took 9 black folks dying for it to come down. The reality is, when you go, the Fair Housing Act was only passed because King was assassinated. I mean, we can go down the line how black blood has to be spilled for there to be change. To me, that forces. And here's the other deal: the opening was right there, Greg. Okay, Donald Trump, since you say you do so much for black people, why don't you get rid of diversity training in federal government? But that's also race in America. Go ahead.
But you can't, I mean, it's not Roland Martin Unfiltered. You keep making that point. I mean, at the end of the day, it seems to me that there are a lot of moving parts. We saw a lot of moving parts today. Is Kristen Welker thinking about how this debate needs to be different from the other one? Is she trying to position herself? Because it's interesting how she entered race. I mean, I'm listening to her and it sounds more like a Lester Holt. not even a Craig Melvin. I mean, it's kind of like a race neutral black person who sets it up with a softball question, really, to Joe Biden about the talk, and then allows Biden to have a very personal kind of thing. Say, yeah, my daughter, she's a social worker. We don't have to do this. Black people have to do. And then she pivots to Trump and hits him like Serena Williams. Proud Boys, you said, you man, that way you got to say about I'm saying, but she entered it like that black person who is the safe black. And I'm thinking, is she trying to enter this in a space that allows her to maintain this kind of center black media persona she's developed over the years? Even Craig Melvin is kind of conversational. Yeah, but she's saying, look, y'all can see I'm black. I ain't that black in terms of my affect, how I will. So I'm explaining to y'all to talk. But then her race questions, as Reese said, they weren't as hard hitting and as you framed as you would have asked them, or it would have been in a black space. But it's almost as if Kristen, I mean, there are too many unknowns.
I think what I hear Reese saying is a really important statement, because the same thing happened with Chris Wallace. When they dealt with the issue of race, it was only through the prism of riots, protest. And what you're saying is, if we want to talk about race in America, let's talk about race in America. Let's talk about black businesses. I mean, look, I would have said, let's discuss race in America. Just yesterday, Quibi announced that they're shutting down. They raised $2 billion and they only lasted 6 months. Black entrepreneurs fight just to even raise $100,000. What will you do as president to ensure African Americans will be able to access those venture capital dollars? How will you be able pension funds? How is that white men control 98% of all private equity pension funds? Again, you can, to Reese's point, what you're saying is, if we're going to talk about race in America, can we not be criminals?
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Folks who go to jail? Can we not be people who are going through the criminal justice system? Because, and see, what Trump does it as well, because anytime he talks about black people, first step, that's it, player. That's it. And also stop pimping opportunity zones, because y'all have no details, no specifics at all about who's benefiting from those opportunity zones. And then of course, and he treats Tim Scott like he's his mascot.
How about that?
So I mean, so Reese, your point is you're absolutely right. Stop only thinking about black folks by having a mass incarceration conversation, because all of us ain't been to jail.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember like in the primaries, the Democratic candidates also always pivoted to criminal justice when a race question was asked. And Senator Kamala Harris was the only person, or the first person, I should say, that when the race topic came up, what she actually talked about was HBCUs, and how if a child has a black teacher, a black child has a black teacher by the 3rd grade, they're more likely to graduate from high school, and so on and so forth. And so we are multifaceted as a community. We're not monolithic. I think black people are also concerned about the black maternal mortality rate. They're concerned about the wage gap. Black women have an even bigger wage gap as compared to black men and white men. And so there are a lot of issues. You have housing. There's been recent articles about how the wealth gap is in large part due to the housing discrimination. And so there are a lot of topics to touch on. I appreciate that you talked about the environmental justice part of it, which was a little bit different than what we've heard. But all I'm saying is, we don't always have to have the black discussion be the criminal justice discussion. And I think that, and I appreciated that Biden had the competency on the environmental justice part, but I think it's 90% of the conversation about black people is always criminal justice. And it gives Trump the ability to say 10,000 black men, 20,000 black men, all these black men in jail and all this stuff. And it's just, I'm sick of hearing it.
I agree 100%. I mean, that is an issue, Erica. And again, that is I'm telling you, that is a mainstream media thing. I've experienced it my entire career, and it's like, that ain't all we do. just like if you're Democrats, don't just have black ball players. Talk about black men.
Right.
Go get some black CEOs.
That's right.
Mhm.
Go get some black blue collar workers.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Go get some brothers who are single fathers. But see,
Mhm.
again, though,
Yeah.
that, again, what happens is uh, whiteness sort of drives that whole deal. Well, we're talking about them. We can bring this up. No, 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 no. We are way more than that. The complexities are way more than that. All right, folks, 11 days. 11 days. We are going, of course, today's Thursday. Next, you got the final week of campaigning next week for your election. What do you think happens with Trump? What happens with Biden over the next 11 days? Erica, I'll start with you.
Trump is going to get wilder. I know just yesterday in Atlanta, he, um, 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 what is it with the sentence? He commuted the sentence of a teacher from Atlanta that was
It
caught
was
up
like
in
20
a,
people.
yeah, and she was unfortunately caught up in this food stamp scheme. The sentence that she received was absolutely ridiculous. So I think he's just going to become wilder, continue to hold more rallies, continue to do things like that. Which shout out that she's let out, but she's kind of the next Alice Johnson here on the list. But he's going to continue to really try to go after kind of those Hispanic men, Hispanic women, and Black men. And I think that kind of the wising up piece around folks who are maybe unregistered, maybe hopefully that they'll go ahead and get registered in those states where they can still register, because I don't believe that there are any really undecided voters. It's just really unregistered voters. And I think that, people just really need to be geared up. I mean, we've already seen where as Biden called them the poor boys, which is what I prefer to refer to them as now, the poor boys, that their tactics and sending emails out to folks to really intimidate them, that voter intimidation, that those type of deterrence actions are going to go. But I think that because people are getting armed with more good information, that people like we were just at the voting precinct today here in Northern Virginia, lines wrapped around the building. People are getting out and they are voting. And so I think that that's going to continue to happen. And I hope that people are continuing to participate in phone banking. I've been getting a lot of those texts come through. I just really think that we'll continue to see numbers of 40 plus million that we've already seen votes casted. We'll continue to see that go up. And again, Trump just get wilder.
Reese, what do you see the next 11 days?
I think that Trump is going to double down on voter suppression. That's what the GOP is banking on. This is their last resort. They have an emboldened and sneaky, I would say, also Supreme Court that's going to increasingly rule in their favor in terms of voter suppression. But in terms of tactics, I don't expect to see any difference in Donald Trump. GOP pollster Frank Luntz called it the worst campaign ever. They have, I think, $60-something million of cash on hand. You have GOP, operatives jumping ship or trying to distance themselves from Trump. So I think what we'll see is a desperation from the Republicans to try to hold on to the Senate. And I think we're going to see, particularly towards Black people, a fever pitch when it comes to disinformation and misinformation. On the flip side, the Biden-Harris campaign seems to be really hitting on all cylinders. Biden tonight made a closing argument. He understands he has to get in those people off the fence. Voter turnout so far in early voting has already exceeded all of 2016's voter turnout. So the numbers look spectacular. I want to see them. I know that I think that Texas is winnable, but I think that they're very, very, very smart to focus on the Midwestern states. That's where your bread and butter, that's where your almost guaranteed electoral college win is going to come in, between Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. That's where they really, 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 really need to hunker down. If you get spectacular numbers, then sure, go for Texas and Arizona and for Florida. But I think that they're really, really, really getting stronger at messaging. I would like to see more graphics, but I think that the one last thing that I would say for them, get that economic message together. The healthcare message is good. Biden was exceptionally strong on that, but the economic message that's a part where they are far superior to the Trump campaign, and people want to know they're going to have more jobs, almost 8 million more jobs under Biden. Their income is going to go up. That's something that Trump lied about tonight, and their taxes will go down. If they can really hammer home, you get better health care and you get more money, then this will be a no-brainer, and it will be an even bigger blowout I'm saying that. I know that sounds super optimistic. People still have to vote, but they have a winning ticket. They just got to hammer those last 2 points home.
Greg?
I think basically, like Erica said a little earlier, you need to rewind that last 10 minutes and play it over and over again. Reason you just gave them the roadmap. You got to hit hard and keep going. We got to bank as much of the in-person vote as possible. I mean, Roland, first time you've been on a plane since the plague hit, you went home to vote. And we got to bank that vote and expand the voting base, because I suspect that many people who are voting early, like we all are people who were going to vote anyway. So now we got to turn around and get those people who might not have were going to vote. And I agree with Reese 100% about this voter suppression. I'm very wary of this North Carolina case and the Pennsylvania case, because you're going to have that woman on the Supreme Court, and that will give them the 5-4, because I'm assuming John Roberts may still go with Sotomayor and them, because he realizes it's all slipping away. But they're lining up to steal at least a couple of states, and they're going to get North Carolina and Pennsylvania on these absentee, on these ballots that are mailed in. I think I agree again, Reese, what you said I think is absolutely true. The last 2 minutes, Biden's last remarks, that was the closing speech that he needs to now amplify. He can ride that straight in. He mentioned everything from systemic racism to a message of economic hope, and not hope based in the past, but based in the future, based on renewable energy and clean energy. It was a very, very powerful closing speech. And finally, listen to these young people in your campaign, particularly these young Black and brown people, particularly these young Black people. Take apart this debate and go out there and sell it in those places. Go get these brothers on the corner and say, did you hear him talk about the fight for 15? How much you make, man? I mean, did you hear him talk about healthcare with a public option? How's your healthcare? Oh, you ain't been to the doctor in what, 10 years? I mean, in other words, take this debate tonight, disaggregate it, and go out there and sell it hard. Hit them in the soft target space, because they're going to spin it tonight as if Trump had to fight Biden and Welker. You already know what they're going to say. They are going to, as you said, double, quadruple down on their white nationalist base. And if they can hit a soft target, not even over the next 11 days, finally, if they can do something in the next 2 or 3 days, amplify this debate, cut it, chop it up, remix it, and put it out there, they could perhaps put these folks on the run.
Final comment for here. The Biden campaign, they really focused on having Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris do as much local media as possible. Totally makes sense. But let me explain to some of y'all. Black people are different. I need y'all listen to me clearly. Black people are different. When I say Black people are different, Black people look at our national media outlets a lot different than how y'all are looking at it. So when you do, yes, my show, Joe Madison, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, Michael Baston, Dee Dee in the Morning, Erica Campbell, when you do those shows, you are talking, and see, Black people, we talk to our Black people.
Right.
So we communicate with our frat brothers and sorority sisters. We communicate with our church members. We communicate with our family members. We communicate with friends. So Black people, so what I'm saying there is to the Biden folk, y'all need to get them on Black media outlets talking to Black people. Okay, let me be real clear.
Yes.
You look, it's 11 days. All you gotta do is sit down and go, all right, Joe gonna do this day, Kamala gonna do this day. That's what you do. You bank them. Okay? You do that because you got to hit the persuadables. Okay? So we got that. You got to do that. The second thing is this here. Donald Trump is going to bring up Hunter Biden. He's going to try everything. They tried this crap. Rudy Giuliani. It was like a dead bird. Y'all seen one of them funerals where they try to throw a dove in the air and they done choke the damn dove? That's basically what Donald Trump and them have done when it comes to the Hunter Biden stuff. So you got that going on as well. It really is going to be, to Reese's point, absolutely economic message is going to be critical. But again, here's the other piece, and it's critically important. Why am I also saying that they got to hit these national media outlets? Because you also got to think about the United States Senate. The reality is this here. I saw a poll that says it's tight in Minnesota. Democrats only up by 1. Very surprising. You got a tight race between Gary Peters and John James. John James, Black Republican in Michigan. John James ain't gonna vote for nothing Black people want. So but he's getting 17% of black male support. Gary Peters has to firm that up. I will be in Detroit next Wednesday, folks, broadcasting and interviewing Senator Gary Peters. John James ain't gonna come talk to me, so we already know that. We've called, they ain't gonna call. They ain't gonna return our phone calls. So you have to understand, look at the map. Okay, so here's the deal. Democrats say they say we're gonna lose Senator Doug Jones seats. He says, look, I'm behind one or up one latest poll, but they think they're going to lose that. The problem is here: you can't afford to lose Minnesota or Michigan.
Right.
You got to do a net pickup of 3. You get net pickup of 3. Senator Kamala Harris is VP. She breaks the tie. You really want to pick up 5. You really want to pick up 5. Democrats got Arizona, okay, and then many black people, okay. Mark Kelly leading well. Hickenlooper leading in Colorado.
Yeah.
Then you got Maine. She's leading there. The Democrat is leading in Iowa. Bullock could very well win Montana. Okay, so now I'm counting: Colorado, Arizona, Maine, Iowa, Montana. Democrats could pick up Cal Cunningham in North Carolina. They can pick up Ossoff in Georgia. Okay, that's 7 right there. Okay.
You have Kansas. And Alaska.
Okay, she's
been
close. It's very close. Republicans are dumping crazy amount of money in there. Yeah. If she was a former Republican, she became a Democrat. I just don't see Kansas flipping. That's 7. Okay. Chuck Schumer, you got to send Mike Espy a couple of $1 million.
Come on.
He's down 1. If you're down 1 right now, that's real, especially with a high black turnout. He can actually beat Cindy Hyde-Smith. But the bottom line is this here.
Jamie Harrison.
You got Jamie Harrison, so now you got 8. So all of a sudden you look, the reality is this here. You want Biden and Harris to win, but you also got to have the Senate.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to have that.
Got to.
So that's really going to be the focus here. For us, it really has to be black people. Do me a favor. Stop getting caught up in celebrity games.
Right. Please.
Let me be clear. At this stage of the game, I don't care what any black celebrity jumps out all of a sudden is now commenting when we had a whole year of a primary. And I ain't hear from none of them black celebrities. And we've had the last 10 months.
Right.
And we ain't hear from none of them black celebrities. All of a sudden now folk want to weigh in. Trump plan is better. No, your ass ain't been here. Nope. It's 11 days. It's 11 days. There's nothing Donald Trump is going to promise you in 11 days that's real. So if you're a black celebrity, stay quiet, tell folks to vote their conscience, and then wait to see who wins. And then, let me be perfectly clear, and then we turn the screws up. Because let me be real clear with everybody out there. And I know I love these people. Roland, you sit here, you pushing Biden on us. No. I'm not pushing Biden Harris on you. I'm trying to get your ass to see that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell appointed a 33-year-old white woman, Catherine Mizell, to a federal bench who graduated from law school 8 years ago. And when they asked her about her legal experience, she brought up when she was an intern. She's going to be a federal judge for life. So what I'm trying to get y'all to understand is that we're not voting for the next 4 years. We're voting for the next 50 years. We're voting for the federal bench. We're voting for the Supreme Court. We're voting for expanding the Supreme Court. We're voting for the level of policies. And y'all need to understand, because see, I got the receipts. Don't think for a sec. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama don't text me. They don't email me.
Right.
They don't call me.
Nope.
You don't know why? Because I pushed him when he was in the White House.
Yeah, they don't like that.
From day one. So y'all need to understand. I am going to push Biden Harris.
Yes.
I'm very clear. So when y'all had these other fools out here say, oh, you trying to get a job. I need y'all to help y'all out. I make more than White House staffers. My wife ain't trying to have no damn pay cut. So let's just be real clear. I don't want to work for a politician. I have the freedom where I am right now. What I do understand, the things that we want to do from economically, the things that we want to do when it comes to education, the things that we need to have happen when it comes to our neighborhoods, all those different things, I know where it's likely to happen and who is going to be sitting in the Oval Office in the old Executive Office building,
That's right.
and that's Biden Harris. I
Mhm.
know if Democrats win 9 House seats in Texas, they will control the Texas House for the first time in 20 years. And now, when it comes to redistricting next year, you have much fairer maps. I know if the sister, Sherry Beasley, remains the Supreme Court justice in North Carolina,
Yes.
you're going to see fair judicial rulings come down and not the craziness we saw under Republicans.
Mhm.
I know what is going to happen if you see one of the legislature, one of the branches flip in Arizona, where you're now going to have fairness going on there. I know what is going to happen. And what I need everybody who's watching me, there are thousands of you who are watching on YouTube, thousands who are on Facebook. I appreciate all of you. Y'all, this is the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And in the fourth quarter, folks don't sit on the bench cracking jokes. In the
Mhm.
fourth quarter,
Amen.
folks not sitting here tying another person's shoelaces.
Nope.
In the fourth quarter, they're focused on the game. In the fourth quarter, everything narrows and have tunnel vision because they're trying to win. We do not have time to hear what the hell 50 Cent got to say.
At
Okay?
all.
Because he may be
At
called
all.
50 cents. Some of y'all ain't even got 5 cents. So what we need to be right now is focused on
Right.
driving our people. Trust
Mhm.
me, the
Right.
Republicans know how much Donald Trump is in trouble.
Mhm.
Jamie Harrison tweeted today at 57 million he raised in the third quarter, that money is gone. The Republicans are dumping about $25 million in South Carolina right now. They are
Mhm.
scared to death. Folks, we have them on the run. Now is the time for us to drop the hammer and,
Yes.
they say, close strong. We're going
Yes.
to be covering it tomorrow. I'm going to be in Florida with Desmond Mee, Sheena Mee, the Florida Restoration Rights Coalition. They have a huge event taking place on Saturday with Common. I'll be emceeing that particular event. We'll be live streaming it on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Next week, we plan to be in South Carolina with Jamie Harrison. We plan to be in we've already been in North Carolina. We plan to be in Georgia with Raphael Warnock. Wednesday, I will be in Detroit. I will let y'all know where. Y'all can actually come out, social distance event there. I'll
And
be
be
interviewing.
careful, brother. That's a lot of
Yeah.
travel, man.
Oh, no. I got, first of all, I got disposable hazmat suit.
Okay.
I got goggles and a face shield.
Okay.
I got N95 mask. I got, oh, no. Let's be clear. No, roll. No, I got all that. So
Oh,
we ain't gonna have, no. I know, I don't play that at all. So we got all that. So we got, but the bottom line is this here. We have to be in those places
yeah.
because we have to turn our people out. If
Yes.
black people vote our power,
Yes.
we
Mhm.
change the game. If
Yes.
we vote our numbers, we change the game. We have to be willing to change the game. Reese, Erica, Greg, I appreciate y'all with this post-debate conversation.
Yes.
It's been a long day. Thank
It's
you so
been
very much.
fun.
I gotta
Appreciate
go
you,
pack.
Roland.
All right, folks,
Thanks,
and remember,
Safe travel.
black-owned media matters. You see, if y'all want to know out there, and I'm just gonna be my last point, and y'all heard me say it. If y'all want to know out there in black-owned media who actually cares about giving you the issues, find out who was live tonight.
That's it.
Ask the question who was live tonight. Go ahead, take y'all time. I want y'all to go down the road. Did BET have a post debate show? Did TV One have one? Did Bounce have one? Did OWN have one? Did Aspire have one? Did Afro have one? Did the Griot have one? What's the other one? Did Essence have one? Ebony, Black Enterprise? All I'm saying is this here. There's a reason we have this platform because we know you want to go somewhere to hear our perspective and to hear it straight. And so support what we do right here. Lean this way. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. Money order you can send to New Vision Media Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. A shout out to Keenan White for helping us as well. And all them other so-called new black media people, they asked quiet tonight too as well. You know why? Because they got no real ass shows. They fronting. And if I did a roll call on y'all asses, I give you more attention than you ever deserve. All right, folks, I gotta go pack. I'll holler at y'all later. Holla! Peace out.
Bye,
Roland.
y'all.